Hello. Okay, I do not know how to start this video. I have so much to say because I talk so much. So I'm going to try summarize as best that I can to get my points across, but I have a really bad habit of just talking shite. Okay, so I wanted to make this video for a long time because okay, yeah, I haven't even told you what the video is about. Yes, this video is about anxiety and panic attacks, and my experience with them because when I was kind of going through the worst of it all, I didn't know anything about them when I was, and it wasn't until like 2 months later that I actually worked out what was happening to me, and what I was actually going through. And I just feel like if I'd seen something like this, like someone openly talking about it, then I would have felt better. I would have maybe understood what I was going through and not felt so like crazy and alone. And it makes you think that you're literally going insane. Yeah, I just want to talk about it. And if this helps at least one person, this video was totally worth making. So I'm going to talk about a couple things. So I'm going to talk about like my symptoms, what panic attacks and stuff like that felt like for me, my kind of process, what I did for myself to kind of get out of it and help myself and be in the place that I am now, where where I'm not just a nervous wreck with a twitchy eye and a tremor. Not that there's okay. I'm just gonna shut up now. Okay, so what? So if you follow my Ailes Berlin page, then you'll realise that I'm like so everything. But yeah, so the first thing I'm going to talk about is symptoms. So like what it was like for me. What it was like for me. I'm doing that really annoying twang that influencers do. So I'll talk about like my first panic attacks, what my panic attacks were like, what kind of anxiety I went through afterwards, what it felt like. I'm not a doctor. If anyone has any of these symptoms, please get it seen to because it could be something else. It might be anxiety, but just always just to be sure. The first time I had a panic attack, as you know, people that follow me know, or people that are friends with me know, I moved to Berlin on my own for an internship doing marketing and social media, which is something I've never worked in before. So for me to move to Berlin, new city, new job, new language, you know what I mean? Like it was just, obviously I realise now in hindsight it was a huge change, that I don't think I appreciated how much of an impact it would have on my mental health. I realised I realise now obviously. But yeah, so I lose my train of thought a lot, by the way. I'm really tired. I just started my new job, so I'm a bit like, what am I trying to say? Okay, yeah, the first panic attack I had. Now, bearing in mind, I had no idea that I was having panic attacks for quite a while until I went to the doctor. So for me, I thought I was having a heart attack. Just to clarify, loads of people go to A&E every year thinking they're having a heart attack when it's actually a panic attack. Like that's how real they are. Like they're so physical, um, and it's really hard to imagine having one if you've never had one before. I'll kind of talk about what happened. So I wear a Fitbit and it tracks my heart rate. Okay, so it just gives you a rough outline. It's not 100% accurate, right? But it does kind of give you a guideline as to what your heart rate is. And my resting heart rate, like when I'm just sat like this, like what is it now? Okay, that's kind of high. Okay, it's usually about 60. And I was sat having breakfast maybe like 2 weeks after I moved, maybe 2, 3 weeks after I moved, and it went up to 170, 170 beats per minute within a couple minutes. Like I've never felt anything like it. It was just like all of a sudden just went. I lost feeling in my hands. I lost feeling in my legs. I couldn't see properly. Like everything went blurry. My head went really tight. Like it was like my brain was tight. And I remember I couldn't think. Like I couldn't think properly. Like it was like I knew something was wrong. I can't describe it, but I knew something was wrong and I was like, I'm about to die. Like, how am I going to tell my family that I love them? And that's what I was thinking about. This went on for maybe like 5, 10 minutes, and kind of like the logical part of me was like, if this was a heart attack or you were about to have a seizure or whatever, it would have happened. But the other part of me was like, I'm still feeling all these things. Like I can't see, can't feel my hands, can't feel my legs. Like I've got chest pain. It was like someone was sitting on me. My heartbeat's racing. Like I was just, it was horrific. It was one of the worst things I've ever experienced in my life. And yeah, so long story short, like I said, that part went on for about 10 minutes, and then this was my logic at the time. I decided to go outside because my flatmate wasn't home, and I thought, well, if I die, then at least if I die outside, someone will call an ambulance. And that's how bad I felt. Like that's how strong these symptoms were. I genuinely thought I was about to die. So I kind of tried. I made my way outside, and I wandered really really slowly about the place, and everything kind of started to ease away. Like my symptoms kind of just slowly went away, and I was thinking like, what the hell was that? So I think I was outside for maybe like 20 minutes, just kind of walking around, and I remember thinking like, what has just happened? Like, what was that? It's obviously something wrong with my heart, and it was terrifying. Honestly, it was so so scary, and that was the first one, the first of many. And I kept getting them in really normal situations. Like I felt fine when I wasn't having them. Like genuinely happy, could have a laugh, phoning my friends, going out, socialising, exploring Berlin. I felt fine. Obviously, wasn't fine, but I felt fine at the time. And then I would have these random panic attacks. Like I had one in Aldi, and I like had to. So I was pushing my trolley, and my vision just went like I can't see. So I kind of like bent over the trolley and just kind of lay there for like 5-10 minutes, so I didn't faint on the floor. Had one on the train. I was having them at times where I didn't think I was panicked. So that was, yeah, it was completely like debilitating. It was horrible because of how random they were. I could never predict them happening, and that kind of probably made me more anxious because I was always scared of them happening, if that makes sense. But yeah, long story short, so I kept having these big panic attacks, and then I had a really, really bad one, and I had like really bad heart palpitations for like 3 days straight. I couldn't sleep at night. I was sweating like profusely, like pouring with sweat, trying to sleep, while my heart was just racing. It never ever went away. And then on day 3, I decided, right, I need to like go to a doctor. Like something's wrong. It's been 3 days. I probably should have gone before then, but I didn't have German health insurance, so like it costs a lot of money to go to a doctor, and I just moved, so I didn't want to. This sounds terrible, but I didn't want to like spend my money on going to a doctor when I could spend it on going out and food. I realise now. Anyway, this is what I did, so I'm not gonna revel in the past. I went to the doctor and she did tests on me, and everything was fine. And I remember thinking like, everything is not fine. Like, did you hear what I just said? Like, I told all my symptoms about these, and I kind of was calling them moments because I didn't know what they were. I was like, I've just told you these moments. I literally cannot see. I can't feel my arms. I can't feel my legs. I get chest pain. My heart races. Like, you're telling me that I'm fine. And then she was like, I think you have anxiety disorder. And I remember being like, anxiety? Like, I'm not nervous. I have a heart condition. And I remember being almost like insulted by her saying that I had anxiety because I felt like she was downplaying it. And she's like, you just need to focus on your breathing. And I remember thinking, like, breathing? You think I can breathe when I can't feel my legs and I can't see? And my heart's just racing. Like, you think I can just be like, okay, I'm just going to be focused on my breathing? Do you know what I mean? Like, I think I'm dying when this happens. Like, how the hell can I concentrate on my breathing? And I was actually really annoyed when I left because I remember thinking, like, how dare she? And then I realised the second I left that doctor's office, my heart palpitations went away. And bearing in mind, this was day 3 of these palps. Like, they went away. And I remember thinking, like, that's weird. So I remember I was on the train going back to the flat, and I looked up anxiety disorder, and I ticked every box. I ticked every box for the panic attack. Like, I had been having panic attacks and I had no idea. Like, everything it said, like heart palpitations, numbness in hands and feet. Your vision actually goes because your pupils dilate, so everything becomes quite blurry. Or it happens to some people. Like, obviously, panic attacks are different for everyone. Someone might have the exact same thing as what I've had, or they might have something completely different. It's different for everyone. But yeah, I ticked every box. And I remember thinking, like, oh my god, this is what's been happening. And after that, I didn't, not that I remember, I didn't have any big ones that were like really like physically like can't see, can't walk, can't move, can't speak, can't do anything, have to collapse, right? Didn't have any more of them. But what it did turn into was a constant anxiety because I was so scared of that having one and dying that I just became anxious all the time, but in a different way. So like I had a constant tremor. I would be constantly shaking. I had quite a high heart rate, but it was never like really, really high. I was really easily startled. I was on edge all the time. I muddled up my words. I felt really like hot and dizzy all the time. I felt sick all the time. IBS was just crazy. I I actually developed a twitch like in my face, like it genuinely looked like I was winking at people. I would get vibration and like numbness in half my face. I was a nervous wreck, and what I know now is I actually had a nervous breakdown. I'm not laughing at having a nervous breakdown, but I'm just kind of like, I actually had a nervous breakdown. Yeah, it was so hard. Like I've never felt like that in my life, and I'm such a sociable person. Like I love talking to people, and it got to the point where I couldn't look people in the eye. I couldn't look anyone in the eye, and if I did, I would get really hot, and then I would just get like that. Like I just couldn't do it. And it was kind of at this point that I told my friends, and I tried to start telling my friends and family how I was feeling because I hid it for a long time. Because I'm not very good at talking about negative feelings. I will happily tell you when I'm happy. If I'm sad, I won't tell anyone until I'm sad, like really, really, really bad. So when I told my friends and family, I think like it was because I was at rock bottom. I remember thinking, like, if I'm gonna feel like this every day, I don't want to live anymore. Like that's how bad it got. And it broke my heart because my dream was to move to Berlin, and I was living what I'd wanted for myself for so long, and I felt like shit. Like I felt like I don't even want to be here anymore. Like look at the state of me. I felt like I'd lost my personality. I'd lost myself. I felt like I was going crazy. I felt really, really, oh, what's the word? Dissociated. So sometimes I wouldn't even feel like I was in my own body. Like it was horrible. There was days where I would just sit and stare at walls. Actually, I just lost it. And throughout all of this, I still had to like go about my daily life, and it was soul destroying. Like I still had to find somewhere to live. So I was going to flat viewings feeling like this, and it took every speck of energy in my entire body to go to viewings and job interviews. And I used to like afterwards I would go straight back to my flat, and I would cry. Like I was so drained of all my energy, and it was just hard. When I started to notice that I was getting really like I was depressed, when I started to notice like the more depressive symptoms, I kind of said to myself like, okay, you need to do something, or this is going to be really bad. Or not that it wasn't bad enough, but like I was worried about myself. Like I didn't know what was going to happen. So I kind of had a word with myself, and I was like, no, you're gonna fight this. Like this, if you're not gonna give it a shot now, you'll never give it a shot. Like I kind of said, like with every bit of energy I have left in my entire body, I will fight this. Like it's gonna be hard, and it's not gonna be easy. Like bearing at this point, like I was scared of the supermarket. I was scared of day to day life. So I knew it was never gonna be easy, and it's not. Like if you feel like this and you're scared, and anxiety just festers away and makes you think things that aren't real, and it's, you know, it's illogical. Like I knew what I was feeling wasn't real, but I felt it. Like I felt these physical symptoms. So I kind of started looking at like self-help for anxiety, and like what I could do to help myself, like self-care. I mean, at the end of the day, like, oh, I did have like friends in Berlin, and I did tell them like, you know, I was going through a bit of a hard time, but I find it so hard to open up to people in that way. Like I'm very open in other ways, but with stuff like that, I think I don't want to look like weak and vulnerable, even though I know it's not weak and vulnerable, but it's just like how I've always been. I like being strong, but now I feel like I can find strength in being open about my down days, and I think that's powerful. So this is what I did to help myself. So now that we've gone through we're in the worst, we know, been through the worst of it, symptoms are terrible, crying about taking bins out, all that jazz, I decided to take notes of how I felt about 3 times a day. So when I woke up, lunchtime, and before bed. So I could try, if anything, find a trigger, because some people have triggers for anxiety and panic attacks. So I read that that was good, and it was kind of a good way for me to check in. Like to kind of just be like kind of be aware of how I was feeling, because what I realized I had done was I'd suppressed all these negative scared emotions for months. And the reason I was having panic attacks is because my body was like, you need to kind of like let yourself feel what you've been feeling instead of pretending to be happy all the time. That was the problem. So a key thing is to accept how you're feeling. Like if you feel anxious, say, okay, I'm feeling a little anxious, like, but that's okay. That's fine. Let it flow. Like it's okay. That was actually really helpful. Talking to people. So like I said, I opened up to my friends and family, and I was really honest about how bad I felt, because I had to be. Yeah, it wasn't great. But once I'd done it, I did feel slightly better. I tried to make a point of every day, like trying to go for walks, and it was hard. It was really, really hard to begin with, because I was scared of everything. Like I was just terrified of life, and I just hated myself for who I'd became. Like I was genuinely like a shell of the girl that had moved to Berlin, and that's how I felt. But yeah, so I just had to try to make a point of every day, and then I actually moved apartment, so that actually helped. The flatmates that I have in my new place are just super nice. I had a bit of bother in my old place, just like people were in and out all the time, and I think that put me on edge because I never knew who I was living with for more than a couple of days for like the last month I was there. But anyway, I moved to my new apartment, so I feel like that was kind of like a fresh start. And then, I went for my job interview, and I got a job, so stability of having a new job and having a new place to live was kind of like a fresh start for me. That helped in the long run. Not to begin with, I was still struggling quite a lot. What else did I do? Oh, I joined the gym. And the first time I went to the gym, because everyone always talks about how exercise is really good for you and your mental health. The first time I went to the gym, I lasted 20 minutes and I had a panic attack in the changing room. Like a full blown, just like, I just freaked out. I think it's because I was exercising, my heart rate went up, and because I'd been having these panic attacks with a high heart rate, I just associated it with all these other physical things. So that was crap. But then I thought, well, you're going to have to go back to the gym and prove to yourself that you can last more than 20 minutes. So I think 2 days later, I went to the gym and I lasted 40 minutes. I had a panic attack on the way home, but it was better than the day before. So I always use this logic, like, always take note of your little achievements because they're important. Like, I could have so easily been like, oh my God, right, the gym gives me panic attacks, I'm never going to go back. But instead, I was like, okay, so you made it to the gym, you signed up. Like, I remember how anxious I felt when I was doing it, but yeah, it's just you have to fight it. You have to push yourself through, because no one else is gonna. Like, it's your mental health. It's you. You have to push yourself. You have to want to change, and it's so difficult. And I'm not saying that you can always fight these things. Like, that's not what I'm saying at all. Just in my experience with what I've been through, I knew I had to fight it, and it was possible for me. And I completely understand that people will be in different situations, and they can't, and they're not able to, and I totally understand that, and that's really hard. But yeah, and then I went to the gym a third time, and I lasted well over an hour, and it was an amazing gym workout. So for me, it was just taking note of all your victories. If you're scared to do something, do it. That was my logic. Like, the second I started feeling anxious about something, I would put clothes on, I would go do it. Like, oh, I need to go to a food shop. So I'm like, right, get the bags, we're going. Like, that kind of thing. Constantly pushing myself to do things that scared me, to a certain extent, helped so much. And then I'm trying to think what else I did. Oh, I read a really good book that was recommended to me by one of my friends here, called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, and it's a very good read. Would recommend. But do you know what? Just doing really mindful things. The best thing for me was just being aware of how you feel. Checking in with yourself. It's okay to feel anxious. Like, actually, anxiety is such a very normal emotion. It's just with panic attacks and anxiety disorder, that's not normal. And that's when it becomes a problem and it affects your day-to-day life. But anxiety is normal. Like, you'll get it before a job interview, or in dangerous situations, like, it'll save your life. But in situations where you're in Aldi's trying to do a food shop, not going to save my life. So I'm going to summarise now, because I've been nattering on for about 20 minutes, and I don't even know if this is going to help anyone, or if anyone's going to sit and watch this whole thing. But for me also, I feel like it's good to talk about my feelings like this. If anyone has ever felt like that, or wants to ask me anything, Please know that my messages are always open. Like I'll speak to anyone about this. I'm really open, and I'll listen to you. And if you have anything to ask me, please message me. And yeah, that's it really. I feel like I've forgotten something. Yeah, I mean, I made this video to just put out there what it can feel like, because I felt really alone, and when I was going through it, because I didn't even know that panic attacks could feel like they did for me. So I feel like if this can raise awareness on what they feel like, then it was worth it. And if it helps someone and makes you feel a little less crazy, then it was worth it. So hope you all enjoyed talking about my nervous breakdown. But I'm good now. Like, genuinely, I feel, obviously, like, I have my moments. However, I'm out of the woods. Like, I'm so much better now, and I only have my amazing friends and family and the pushing from my inner voice to thank. So thank you for watching, and I hope I've not been really boring. Cheers.